to discuss the issues with 3rd District Representative Tom MacArthur. The phones are open, 732-505-1160. Follow the show on Twitter and tweet your questions to @WOBM. Ask the Congressman begins now. Beach Radio, 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com.
Misfires and miscommunications dominate the first 7 months of the Trump administration, or do they? The president's critics seem determined to keep him from leaving the starting gate, hypercritical of every statement, agenda, and policy platform. There's no more talk about the 90-day travel ban. Russia's alleged election meddling goes to the periphery as North Korea threatens nuclear war. And the American Health Care Act sinks out of the headlines for a while with defeat in the U.S. Senate. Where does that turn of events place an author of the House version of that bill, Shore Congressman Tom MacArthur? He also co-chairs the bipartisan heroin abuse task force. How does he view recommendations by Governor Christie's National Commission and discussions this week about opiate overdose rates by the president and his health secretary? On a positive note, activity at the Joint Base ramps up to accommodate the KC-46A refuelers, now just over 3 years away from arrival. We'll take a look at these issues, and we'll hear your concerns as well as we ask the Congressman. Welcome.
Thanks, Tom. Good to be here.
How have you been?
I've been good. You
got to go back to school in September, right?
Yes.
School under the dome.
Yeah. No, it's good to be back in New Jersey. I think these periods are really important, and we get back and see people here. I've had a full day of meetings today, and it's just good to be back home.
Mm-hmm. I understand you were at the Tom's River 250th.
Yes.
The big
yes, that was
big
great.
Celebration in Huddy Park.
Yeah.
You see, these are the things that's kind of the fabric that.
Yeah, there's things like
together.
that. I've been at the Joint Base. I've been with businesses. We've had meetings with constituents that had issues they wanted to talk about. Last time we were home, we had a meeting at Greenbrier Ocean Air with a few hundred residents there. And it's just, it's always good to be back here and hearing from people, letting them know what I'm doing. But I think importantly, I need to hear what's on their minds.
Mm-hmm. I heard a lot of what's on their minds right down on the first floor of the building, as a matter of fact. Our friends are back. You might have remembered them from the last time the Congressman was in. People from New Jersey Citizen Action and a few other groups, and they're very fired up about the American Health Care Act. And before, and I'm sure they're already calling because we have some calls waiting. We're going to get to them. But I do want to ask you, and this is totally off an agenda thing, and it's off a policy thing, but you put a lot of work into that, okay? You read it all, you wrote it, goes through the House, it squeezes through, and then it gets to the Senate. Do you feel like you got taken for a ride when it got to the Senate?
No. I'm disappointed by the Senate's lack of action, but it's not because of effort I put in. It's because the individual health care market is in deep trouble, and it's continuing to be in deep trouble. Prices continue to go up. People who are not getting subsidies are dropping out in droves because they can't afford it. It's unfair to them, and we're up to 28 million uninsured people now.
Is that what they call the cost-sharing subsidies?
Well, that's a different issue.
That's a different issue? Right.
But that needs to be solved soon, and I'm sure we'll have some calls on that tonight, and I'm happy to talk about it. But the in broad strokes, Tom, the big issue is that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, is just not delivering what it promised. I know it's helping some people, and I know that some people that didn't used to have insurance now have it, but there are millions of people who used to have insurance who don't have it now because they've been priced out of the market and they make more than $48,000 a year and are not eligible for subsidies. So that's a real problem. And then on the other side, you have the Medicaid changes that were made in Obamacare, and Medicaid was set up in 1965 to help the poorest of the poor. It was set up to help pregnant women that were poor, seniors, disabled people. New Jersey gets 50 cents on the dollar for what we spend to help those people. But New Jersey gets 90 cents on the dollar to help able-bodied working-age adults with no dependents. I don't think that's fair to the people for whom Medicaid was established, and I'm worried about where that's going if we don't make some reasonable reforms that stop the cost of that from getting out of control. So these are two areas that need attention, and obviously they're not getting that attention. We need action. We need it now, and I don't think this issue is going away, but obviously it's stuck in the Senate right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, for 7 years, Republicans in the Senate and the House were screaming about this. Comes to the Senate, and they can't get the votes. This told me something about character. I don't know what it told you, but it's just, I see a few things at work here. I see, first of all, nobody likes Donald Trump, so we're not going to give him what he wants, okay? Then I see a beard here, okay, it's for my constituents. It's not because it's not because I'm going to oppose him. I'm doing what's good for my constituents. And all of a sudden that becomes, I'm not voting for it. John McCain's a good example. So I'm very disillusioned right now.
Well, I'm not disillusioned. I'm disappointed that we've not been able to get something moving. There's a lot of reasons for that. If you remember, back in January, I voted no on proceeding because I thought we would have done better in the first place with a bipartisan approach.
Uh-huh.
Now, that's not giving a free pass to Democrats because there's plenty of blame to go around. I have not heard any proposals, for fixing the problems with the Affordable Care Act from the Democratic side in Congress. I haven't heard any proposals. All I've heard is people saying the Republican way isn't right. That's not right either. And so here we are with nothing done. I am continuing to work on it. I'll work with anybody. I'll work with the Freedom Caucus and the Republican side. I'll work with Democrats. But there has to be real solutions, not just talk. And those solutions have to include things that actually bring the cost of health care insurance down. Can't just be shoveling more federal dollars at the problem and making people feel like it's been fixed, because that's not fixing it. Healthcare is nearly 20% of our economy.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to rein that in, or we're going to really damage ourselves. So, there's still work to be done.
Can you illuminate me on why the costs keep going up? I mean, we have insurance, medical, and pharmaceutical. Why are these things so expensive? Why aren't they having their feet held to the fire and say, okay, why is everything so expensive? Where is this money going?
Well, I wish there was one answer that we could just do one thing and fix it. There are a lot of reasons. But here's a few. Today, healthcare providers are paid for services rendered, for activities, not for outcomes. Mm-hmm. So the whole fee-for-service system needs to be reformed drastically. Today, doctors will perform a myriad of tests that are not really necessary because they're afraid of getting sued. We have to change the tort system so that doctors and hospitals don't do everything they do out of fear of being sued. We have the highest per capita healthcare cost in the world. I believe we're now number 18 in terms of health outcomes, mortality rates, things like that. That's clearly a problem. So we do have to rein in sort of the systemic drivers of cost. But in the short term, we've got to get costs down. I believe we've got to fund the cost-sharing revenues, the CSRs.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with the administration on this issue, but I think it can't just be funding those CSRs for poorer people. We also have to do things to bring costs down at the same time.
Right. You want to take a couple of calls?
Sure.
All
Yeah.
righty. We have several on the line, and we'll get right to them. There you go. Can we start with line one? Thank you very much. Welcome in. You are with Ask the Congressman. You're speaking with Congressman MacArthur tonight. What's your name and where you from?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
All right. My name is Jeff. I was at the last town hall. I want to talk about single payer. I fundamentally am outraged by the idea that we want to fund health care through for-profit-based insurance companies. You want to insure your car? That's fine. You want to insure your house? That's fine. But it is absolutely immoral to fund health care, our lives and our deaths.
Hey, Jeff, this is called Ask the Congressman. I know who you are. I know how you feel about it. Why don't you ask me a question and let me answer it?
Why don't you actually get off the script? I've heard everything you've had to say. I've heard everything you said at Waretown. I heard 2 hours of the same answers in Willingboro. I've seen you on TV. It's the same thing. Fundamentally, Congressman, you don't agree that health care should be not-for-profit. And that's a problem. And that's why you've got problems with us.
So
You said it was going to be too difficult to do health care in a couple of months. It took you 3 weeks. You want me to ask you a question? I want you to answer this right now. Why did you vote for the most heinous, horrible bill that 17% of the population wanted? Everyone else said don't do it, and you did it in 3 weeks. You want a yes or no question? You want a question? Answer me.
All right, Jeff. You've asked your question. Now I'm going to answer it. I'd ask people to consider this. When did you reach this dramatic conclusion that single payer is the only answer? Was it a year ago? Was it 6 months ago? Was it 20 years ago? I think it's interesting that some people that think single payer is suddenly the only answer for healthcare and everything else is grossly immoral. Have you had that conclusion for a long, long time, or is this a sudden revelation? Single payer has been talked about for decades. There are very, very few people that have thought that that was a good idea. California recently thought, let's explore single payer. California's entire budget is $200 billion for everything. Everything California does, state government, is $200 billion. Single payer in California, they concluded, that alone would be $400 billion. $400 billion. A progressive think tank looked at single payer and concluded it would be $47 trillion over the next 10 years. What you're talking about will break the country's economic back. It's a bad idea. There's no competition. The government will decide everything. You'll have bureaucrats to go to find out if you can have hip surgery or knee surgery, or if you can get care for your wife who's sick or your children who are sick. It's a bad idea. Now, you say it's immoral to have profits for health care. I guess it would be immoral to have profits for food. I mean, food is more basic than health care. So no profits for food distribution, no profits for health care. I guess, what good is health care if you don't have a place to live? I mean, that's pretty basic, having a house. I guess we should have no profit motive in housing either. What you're describing, Jeff, is socialism, pure and simple. You don't want any human needs to be met through capitalism. You want to take it off the shelf and have government deliver it. I think you're wrong. And every time I've talked to you, you have this outrage. The first meeting you came to, you were outraged about one thing. Now you're outraged about another thing. I think you're a guy looking for attention with a lot of outrage. You've asked your question. I've answered it. And I think it's time to move on to another caller.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you for calling, Jeff. We'll go to line 2, and thank you for calling in. You're on Ask the Congressman. What's your first name and where are you from?
Rich, I'm from Brick, New Jersey.
Thanks for calling, Rich. What is your question for the Congressman tonight?
All right, I'm a local veteran, and I see that you like to post about veterans and doing things for them. But I noticed that the VA healthcare around our district of Ocean County, which is the largest veteran population, has very little healthcare services. There's a small clinic in Brick, New Jersey, which many disabled veterans have to park in the woods nearby just to get inside to get an appointment to see their doctor. So the parking lot's understaffed. I brought this to your attention several times on Facebook, and you've ignored it, or your constituents have ignored it. And just as a local veteran, I have to go to East Orange to see specialists, and I see plenty of other disabled veterans, and we're shaped themselves in wheelchairs and things, that have to go to Brick to get on a shuttle to go to East Orange to go to a doctor's appointment. Now, as a veteran, Tom, it's sad when I see that. My grandfather got 2 Purple Hearts for this country, and when I see a man with combat wounded plates having to park at the Brick Clinic in the woods to go see a doctor, that's offensive and sad. I need to see way more effort from you to be boasting about veterans so much. You need to put yourself and actually start doing stuff for us. Okay?
Well, let me respond to you, Rich. First, I thank you for your service to our country. And the reason I talk a lot about veterans is because you're right. We have the highest veteran population in the state. I think
only state to increase veterans homelessness, by the way, New Jersey.
Well, I believe we owe a debt of gratitude to our veterans. We owe them keeping our word. And I also think it's a down payment on our current service members who are watching how we treat our veterans. So let me respond to the specifics. I could not agree with you more about what you're describing. I think it's unfortunate and it's unnecessary that our veterans have to either go to a small clinic in Brick or go all the way up to East Orange or out to
Philly.
Or out to Philly.
Yeah.
And so I think that the VA is not going to build more brick and mortar facilities. I've gone down that route with them. I was in Burlington County a couple of months ago announcing an initiative between a number of hospitals and the VA and the DOD, which was allowing both active duty service members and veterans to go to their local hospitals and local doctors so they didn't have to travel so far. I really believe that that's part of the answer, that for routine care, our veterans should be able to choose if they want to go to a local doctor and local hospital.
Okay, now I have another question. Now, I noticed that the House Rules Committee conveniently threw it out, but as a disabled veteran, and I've known dozens of disabled veterans, medical marijuana is truly a tool to benefit this community. It has stopped me from having to take opiate medication myself, and I know several other heroes who've switched from opiate-dependent medicine to medical marijuana. This issue kind of affects their skepticism of the VA and things. And when the House committee shut it down and threw it out, and I know Marco Rubio voted against this and Mitch McConnell, I don't know how you voted against it, how you voted on it. You can speak about that.
Sure.
But I want you to hand deliver it to the president that disabled veterans need this. It has saved my life. It has saved others. It has saved my grandfather's life. He has 2 Purple Hearts. And the medical marijuana laws in New Jersey are outrageous and overbearing and overpriced, and it's not a tool. And this could save tons of people on opiate addictions, opiate problems. It saved my life personally, Tom. I'm a veteran. I got out. I'm 100% service-connected, medically retired. It has truly saved my life, and I hope from you and the president to start to do something for the veterans and end this 22 a day, because my friends are dying, and we can't have that.
Okay, Rich, thank you for calling.
Rich, let me, I'll respond to that. I am open to the use of medical marijuana. I think it's like any other God-given drug. It can help people. I think it needs to be managed, whether the state is overbearing or not. I guess that's a fair question, but I am open to it. I think it can help and does help some people, and I think if it can be properly managed by a state, then there should be an opportunity for people to get the treatment that they need.
Is there a way for you on a federal level or anybody on a federal level to influence how the state is managing it? Because he seems to have a problem with how it's being managed and the affordability.
Well, no, there's really not. The federal government doesn't control the states. The federal government can do its own things.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the National Institutes of Health still consider it a dangerous substance. That comes up periodically, and I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I listen to what they say and their issues. They are most concerned about the effect of marijuana on adolescents and on young people without fully developed brains and what it does to them and how it affects IQ. And so I think that's why they've been so cautious about opening it up. But I think I think we have to be open-minded about things that really help people, and I am. I don't sit on the Rules Committee and I don't sit on the VA Committee, so I can't directly influence how the Rules Committee passes their rules, but I, as it comes up, I certainly will remain open, and I'll look to people at National Institutes of Health to give some guidance on that.
All righty. Congressman Tom MacArthur is with us for the hour. We're at 732-505-1160. We do have calls, and we do have to stop for a second. And believe it or not, I want to ask him a couple of questions, too. So we'll all get in this together, okay, gang? Just hang in, stay on the line if you're on the phone, and we'll get to you, and we'll get to everything right after this.
More with Congressman Tom MacArthur coming up next. This is Ask the Congressman. Beach Radio 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com.
Tune in to Luz Catena, certified financial planner and host of The Financial Physician, every Sunday at 11 a.m. on Beach Radio 1160 and 1310. It's more important than ever to keep informed about the economy, financial markets, investments, and income taxes. He'll take your phone calls and answer questions on any money matter. You'll hear no-nonsense, straightforward financial advice and commentary. So make an appointment with your financial physician every Sunday at 11 a.m. right here on Beach Radio 1160 and 1310. Registered investment advisory services through Argentis Advisors.
If you or a loved one suffers from an illness or injury that requires short-term rehabilitative care, enjoy the comforts of home at Leisure Chateau Rehabilitation Center on Route 9 in Lakewood. Their state-of-the-art rehab pavilion houses a strong therapy department with certified full-time therapists and state-of-the-art equipment, including telemetry monitoring in their 2,000-square-foot therapy gym. Physical, occupational, and speech therapies are offered 7 days a week and are geared towards helping recovering patients make a successful transition back to their normal lives. Leisure Chateau also offers a proper balance between medical care and protecting the dignity of their residents. In addition, they provide all subacute services, including IV therapy, wound care, pain management, cardiac rehab, stroke and respiratory services with an in-house respiratory therapist, Huntington disease program, one of only 2 in the state, and so much more. For more information, call 732-370-8600, extension 105, or visit online leisurechateau.com.
You've got skills, so why not make money with those skills? Can you mow a yard, clean a house, hang a flat-screen TV, haul off some junk? Well, check out Tackle.com. That's TAKL.com. Tackle is an amazing new app that connects people who can perform small jobs and chores with customers who need them done. And the Tackle app is coming to cities all across America soon. Go to Tackle.com to see where Tackle is launching next. Just complete the 6 easy steps to register, and you can be your own boss, set your own hours, and make great money as a Tackle provider. The Tackle app is revolutionizing the way people get things done. Go to Tackle.com today and sign up. Stop thinking about making money doing what you love and start doing it with Tackle. Sign up to be a Tackle provider now at Tackle.com. Tackle.com. That's TAKL.com.
From Ocean County to our nation's capital, talk to Congressman Tom MacArthur right now. 732-505-1160. Follow the show on Twitter and tweet your questions to @WOBM. Ask the Congressman. Beach Radio 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com.
Welcome back. We are taking your calls, and we will get to them in a minute. But as I said, I want to get my 2 cents in, too, tonight. We do have a raft of calls, and I'm pleased about that. The Tom MacArthur fan club is out. But seriously, there was some scary talk going on today. And it started with, it's been building with North Korea. And the president tweeted that, this could have been solved like 20 years ago, but Democrats let it go. We blamed it on them. And then he turned around and really got vituperative with his rhetoric about, the military option and, fire and what did he say? It was something like really bizarre.
Like the world has never seen.
Yeah, like the world has never seen. Okay, and then North Korea said, okay, we'll do that, but it's going to be on your land. And so that really kind of stopped me. It's okay, now it's getting out of control. What's your take? You've been in that circle.
I have. I'm very concerned about what's going on the Korean Peninsula. We cannot, in my view, allow North Korea to have a nuclear bomb that can be put on a missile that can arrive here in the United States. There are estimates that they probably have around 60 nuclear warheads now, and all these missile tests are testing delivery systems. They're wanting to get an intercontinental ballistic missile that can reach U.S. soil. My view is we simply cannot allow that. So I'm as familiar as anybody with all of the dangers of action or inaction. There are no good answers. You can look at why. I'm not really interested in that, Tom. I'm interested in figuring out what do we do next. But in my view, I recognize the difficult military options. What to me is not an option is North Korea having an intercontinental ballistic missile with a nuclear bomb. It's not, to me, that's not we just can't allow that.
What is the option? A preemptive strike?
Well, there's a few options, but they're all dangerous. You know, a preemptive strike creates the question of what happens, what do they do with the 15,000 non-nuclear missiles that they have pointed at Japan, South Korea. We can't take them all out. And, and I think that's why everyone, this administration, the last administration, that's why administrations have been so cautious about it, is because they're dangerous even before they're nuclear weapons. I'm just saying that there are a limited number of options that I think we have to exercise. Now, the one that United Nations, with our leadership, has agreed to, including China, is shutting down about $1 billion of exports of a whole raft of minerals and other things. Doesn't sound like a lot, but they only export $3 billion. So this is a third of their exports that are being shut down. Hopefully that will squeeze them enough to begin to negotiate. But we just have to do what we have to do in order to stop them.
Was any of this that was simmering for the past few weeks, was any of that in the back of your head when you were out at the Joint Base the other day?
Yeah, it is, and I actually will be in Korea in just a couple of months. I've been invited by the Korean government and the State Department to go, and so that's already scheduled. So it is on my mind quite a bit. Yeah, I was at the Joint Base a few days ago. One, to welcome a new commander on the Fort Dix side,
right,
and two, to spend some time with Colonel Richardson, who is the Joint Base commander, and talk about the construction, the preparation for the KC-46 tankers. We are the first base in the next basing that's going to get them, and then Travis in California. So that's a great win for us. We got $146.5 million of military construction dollars, and so I was looking at hangars, runways, simulators, the whole range of things that are going on there. And my push right now, and I talked to Colonel Richardson about, is I want to see local contractors given a fair shot of doing this work. There's been a practice of hiring out-of-state contractors who bring people in from down south, and I don't think that that's fair to New Jersey workers who can do that work. And so we talked about it, and I'm going to keep pressing him to make sure that local contractors are given a fair shake.
All right. Shall we get back to the phones?
Sure.
All righty. We're going to go to the next caller, and that's your choice, Paul, as we bring him up. Thanks for calling. Let's ask the Congressman. You're speaking with Tom and with Congressman MacArthur. What's your first name and where you from?
My name's Jody, and I'm from South Jersey. How is everyone this evening?
Doing good, Jody.
Doing well, Jody. How about you?
It's a beautiful day. Wish it could be better, though. I'll give you a little update on me so Congressman knows a little about me. I'm a 59-year-old, what I call a young senior who works 2 jobs and an active member of the New Jersey Organizing Project. I am also on Medicaid expansion, and thank God for it. I have had hepatitis C, and I am bipolar and have been without insurance in the past and have had to make decisions on which medication I could take if I could go through treatment and rid myself of the hepatitis C. And because of the Medicaid expansion, I was able to do these things. I am being treated and can't afford my medication. Unfortunately, again, I work 2 jobs to make ends meet, and I cannot afford health care. When I was diagnosed with hepatitis C, I did try to get help from the government for Medicaid and was told since I didn't have children, I was not eligible, unfortunately. So that is why I had to wait so long for my treatments. The good news is I am hepatitis free now. I don't have any more C. It's been cured as far as the doctors have said.
Well, that's
So
good, Jody, but is there a question in
Thank you.
here?
Yes, it is. The question is, well, more of an ask. Can I get the congressman to commit to voting no on the cut to Medicaid and budget cuts?
Jody, let
Can we-
me talk about health care in general. I'm not sure exactly what cut you're referring to, but with regard to health care, first, I am always mindful of people just like you. I understand that there are people that desperately need insurance, and I've said from the start of all of my health care involvements, my goal is that every single American has health care coverage. Every American. I want to make sure that it's affordable, and my concern right now is that while some people, and I'm glad to hear you were able to get the coverage you need. My concern is, well, you're getting that coverage, other people are not, and healthcare costs are skyrocketing. So I know people, I'm sure you get nervous about any talk of any change to healthcare, but we have to make sure that the system doesn't implode because the costs are out of control. Because as I said earlier on the program, we've got 28 million people now who don't have health care coverage. I'm glad that you have it. I'm glad you were able to get it through Medicaid, but it's not fair and it's not right that 28 million others have not gotten it. And many of them, millions of them, had coverage and lost it now because they are not eligible for subsidies and their premiums are skyrocketing because of other provisions of the Affordable Care Act. So I am working still to try to find solutions, ideally bipartisan solutions, that protect vulnerable people but also bring costs down. That is the only, to me, that's the only solution that can work, is we have to do both of those things. And I'll keep at it, and I will keep, I appreciate you calling. I will keep people like you in mind, and my goal has never been to take coverage away from people. It's always been to add more people to the insured rolls.
And thank you for calling, Jody. You know, and all of the people who gathered downstairs outside our building tonight, they're pretty much of the same mind. You know,
I know that. Yeah.
How much of the? I mean, you got to take some of that back with you. You can't just leave it at the door. Right?
I take it all back with me, and I think that there are people who assume that any change is going to be bad for them. That's not true. We're trying hard to get to solutions that can keep the healthcare system working.
Mm-hmm.
And keep people covered. I think there are some people who might assume that if I'm not in the same party as them, that any solution I would offer must be wrong. I would ask people to try to keep an open mind and try to let Congress get to a solution that can fix this. If we don't, the results are unthinkable to me. Millions of people will lose their coverage. And I want to repeat something I said earlier. There's been a lot of talk about these cost-sharing reductions. These are the very things that are actually, these are subsidies that go to insurance companies, but it's so they can cover poorer people. The administration, the president has said he doesn't want to continue those. I disagree with him, and I'm trying to find ways now. I've had calls as recently as about 4 hours ago with members of the Senate. I am trying to find a solution that will continue those CSRs because I think it's wrong for us to cut them. It'll hurt millions of people if we do.
I'm glad you put that in there. Shall we take one more?
Sure.
Okay, next call, please, Paul. Welcome. You are on Ask the Congressman. Congressman MacArthur is here. What's your first name? Where are you from? Hello? Okay, can we move on then?
Peter or Paul?
Hello? You're on Ask the Congressman. What's your first name and where are you from, sir?
My name is Peter. I'm from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And I disagree with what the congressman just said.
Okay, is it a question, Peter?
The question is that given that the CBO said that 24 million people will lose health care coverage under his plan compared to Obamacare, I don't know what he's talking about in terms of being in support of a bill that's going to take $800 billion off of Medicaid compared to what's going to happen under Obamacare. He brings up the 28 million people. Those are people that, of course, need to be covered under an expanded version of the Affordable Care Act. But he cannot talk about 24 million people, a bill that he voted for, being taken off of health care when the CBO said it in black and white. That's my question.
All right. Well, let me respond briefly to that. It's a very broad question, but I didn't just vote for it, Peter. I was involved in crafting some of that language, and I am not running from that. I am doing what I believe will help people have coverage, not lose it. I have a couple of problems with the CBO score. First of all, they're not comparing covered people in the future to covered people today under Obamacare. They're comparing it to their own rosy version of what Obamacare would cover in the future. I'll just give one quick example. Obamacare's been here for 7 years. Many states have opted in on Medicaid expansion. Many states have not. And yet they assume a whole bunch of new states will opt in the future. They have no idea who the governors will be, no idea who the legislators will be, but they assume millions more people will be covered under Medicaid expansion, and then they call them uninsureds because our plan takes a different approach. They do that over and over and over again. And so my view is that the CBO score is really not something people should hang their hat on. I just fundamentally disagree with it. And so I'm going to keep on working at it. I know people disagree with me. There are many people who agree with me. I'm going to keep working to try to make sure that every American has health insurance. And let's not kid ourselves. The reason 28 million people are insured, there's a host of reasons, but millions of them have dropped their insurance because the current system has made it too expensive. The 39 states that opted into the Obamacare exchanges have seen a 105% increase on the average. 105%. People's premiums have more than doubled. It's one thing if you're getting subsidized, you don't feel that pinch. But what about the millions of people who don't get any help from the federal government and their premiums have more than doubled? They've been dropping their insurance, and it's not fair. It is simply not fair to them. So I'm going to keep, whether people disagree or agree, I'm going to keep on doing what I believe is best to try to get every American insured, make sure people that are vulnerable, people with pre-existing conditions, have coverage, and we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of ideas out there. I have my own. We'll see where all of this goes. I would say this though, in a final response here, the current system, the status quo, is collapsing. It cannot be sustained. We cannot just pretend like it's going to fix itself. It's not. It's simply not, and millions of people are going to get hurt if we don't fix it.
All righty, Congressman, we're going to step out for a second. Thank you for your call, Peter. Thank you, everybody, for the call so far. We have a few left, and we're going to get to them, and we're going to stop for a second and come back. So stay with us. We'll be back in a second.
Let Congressman Tom MacArthur know what's on your mind. Call 732-505-1160. Ask the Congressman continues next. Beach Radio, 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com.
When you think about it, no two things are really the same. That goes for rehabilitation programs too. And no one knows that better than Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Toms River. They pride themselves in providing personalized programs for each patient, offering rehabilitation that makes a real difference in helping them regain independence. In fact, they've now earned the Joint Commission Disease-Specific Care Certification in 6 areas of rehabilitation, the most recent being wound care. How did Health South Toms River get there? They use the most advanced technologies, professional experts who excel in wound care treatment, and round-the-clock care by registered nurses who specialize in rehabilitation. Health South Toms River makes a real difference for men and women with wound care needs. To learn more, visit rehabnj.com. That's rehabnj.com, and choose a wound care leader, offering rehabilitation that makes a real difference. Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Toms River. There you are, stuck miles between exits on the Parkway. It's 100 degrees in the shade, but you're in the sun. On blacktop. Not a pretty picture, is it? Now, how would you feel if it was your wife or child in that car? That's why everyone at Tool Time Auto says now's a great time to check the family cars to make sure they're safe and roadworthy so no one in your family is stuck on the side of the road during the blistering heat of summer. Tool Time Auto is a full repair facility. They'll inspect the hoses, belts, batteries, and more. Tool Time's automotive technicians are ASE certified with many years of experience, and they have the latest computer equipment to fix your automobile. They'll keep all the vehicles in your family running smoothly, and you'll feel confident that your family will be safe on the road this summer. Go to a neighborhood place that is trusted by so many. Tool Time Auto Service at the Whitesville Mall at the intersection of Route 70 and Whitesville Road at Toms River. Call 732-886-6678. That's 732-886-6678.
Hello, I'm Anthony Marquetta, Executive Director of the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. Is 2017 the year you're going to begin investing in yourself? If so, I urge you to make this year the year you buy your own home. To help you begin, we offer a free handbook, The Road Home New Jersey, which is full of helpful tools and tips to make your home buying experience a success. Download your free guide today at njhousing.gov/homeownership.
This message sponsored by the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
If you're a sleep apnea sufferer who's on the go, go to your phone and call right now to try the world's first portable mini CPAP device, absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights. It's the Transcend Mini CPAP, an engineering marvel that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. Its unique design is so small and so light, you can fit it in your laptop bag or purse to use anywhere you go. No more dragging around a big, bulky CPAP. Even better, now you can try Transcend absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights by calling minicpap.com, 1-800-900-0810. Transcend is FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. You can also add a battery pack that's as tiny as a deck of cards. So now you can enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. But don't wait. To receive your 10-night in-home trial, call minicpap.com now, 1-800-900-0810. That's 1-800-900-0810.
Keep the questions coming. Call now to talk to Tom MacArthur, 732-505-1160. Follow the show on Twitter and tweet your questions at WOBM. Ask the Congressman continues now. Beach Radio 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com.
And I will remind you, if you missed any part of the program or you want to go through it again, it will be up on our YouTube channel first thing tomorrow. And you can also bring it up at mybeachradio.com or WOBM.com. Just this past couple of weeks, Congressman, there have been a lot of activity about the opioid abuse problem. The Health and Human Services Secretary was talking to the President within the last 48 hours about it down in Bedminster. Governor Christie and his commission wanted to declare a national emergency. You've been hard at it, going with a series of workshops and conferences on the bipartisan Heroin Abuse Commission. So I see a lot of arrows flying in a lot of directions here. Everybody wants to get to that one destination, but is everybody rowing in the same direction?
I think so, in large part. You got to step back and understand why. First of all, we have a huge crisis in the country with the abuse of opioids, and it's not like some prior drug crises which are, sort of walled off from most of society. This is everywhere. This is every community. It's every part of communities. People are getting addicted to drugs legally and then feeding that addiction illegally. There's an overlay with how medicine is practiced. There's an overlay with the pharmaceutical companies. There's an overlay with border enforcement and criminal justice issues. There's so many elements to it, and I hate to throw out a lot of statistics on it because we get lost in that. And every single life that is lost to this is a tragedy. But there is one statistic. New Jersey, we lost 2,000 people last year. Just over 2,000 people died from overdose. That is more than the combined deaths from suicide, from gun violence, and from car accidents combined. And this is a national emergency. So there's a lot of things that can be done. The task force that I chair in Congress is the most bipartisan entity that I've had any dealings with in Congress. There's 85 of us. We have a Republican chair and a Democratic chair. Everything we do has to be with bipartisan agreement, or we don't focus on that area. And we have found loads of areas that we think we can make a difference in. We have our own legislative agenda that we are working on to get a group of bills to the floor that will help. And as you mentioned, the commission that our governor chaired just came out with its report, and there's a lot of overlap. There's some disagreement, I think, among people about declaring a national emergency. Personally, I think we should declare a national health emergency. I think it'll give the administration some added resources and authority to act. There's other things, simple things. If you go for treatment today to a facility with more than 16 beds, you can't be reimbursed through Medicaid. It's a rule that is nonsensical to me. And so one of the things that the task force is saying is that needs to be eliminated. I agree 100%. We need, and one of our bills does that, in fact. I think we need more medical education, both for doctors, education on pain management, education on addiction pathology. I think we need to do some work with the pharmaceutical companies on opioids, and obviously the holy grail of that is to find a non-addictive painkiller, but that's not there yet. And I think there's a lot of agreement on DHS issues, Homeland Security issues, border enforcement, giving the Customs and Border Patrol more resource to stop the flow of drugs across our southern border. So those are all areas, and there's others as well where there's a lot of common ground among Democrats and Republicans, among Congress and the administration and this commission that the president impaneled. There's a lot we can do. I met just a couple of weeks ago with the acting head of ONDCP, that's the Office of National Drug Control Policy, and I was talking to them about some of the areas they're working on, and again, it dovetailed with the things we're doing in Congress.
All right, but there has to be some sort of non-narcotic, non-addictive pain relief. There are pain relievers.
There are, but it's a matter of effectiveness.
Yeah.
And so, some of the opioids that are problematic are also lifesavers for some people.
Mhm.
And so it's not easy. This is a very difficult issue, but I think there are things we can do that will help. And I think a lot of it deals with helping the medical community to help people not get addicted in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
We had testimony from National Institutes of Health chief scientists that upwards of 75 to 80% of heroin addicts got addicted by first getting addicted to legally prescribed opioids. Those are things we can work on and we can change.
All right. Let's take a call before we go to another break, okay? Welcome in. You're on Ask the Congressman. What's your name, where you're from, and please tell me you have a question.
Yes, I have a question. My name's Priscilla Robinson. I'm from Toms River.
Thanks for calling, Priscilla.
Yeah, so I'm really concerned because my sister has Medicaid, and that's actually how she recovered from her opioid addiction. And that was the only way she was able to recover because Medicaid gave her the access she needed to the services she needed. And I'm really concerned about MacArthur's actions in the past, sponsoring the MacArthur amendments to get the House repeal bill passed and into the Senate. And we're now really concerned about the fiscal year 2018 budget. There's $600 billion in Medicaid cuts in that budget, and we'd like to hear from MacArthur that he's going to change his mind and put people over politics and commit to voting no on the budget until things like Medicaid and SNAP are not cut in the budget.
Well, Priscilla, I appreciate you calling, and I am, every time I hear that somebody was able to get helped with addiction recovery, that is great news to me. And I know there are things that the federal government can do to help. I would ask you though, don't assume that I'm putting politics over people. That's not true. I may have a different view about what a solution is, but just because somebody has a different view doesn't mean that they must be putting politics in front of people. I grew up in a household with a a Democratic mom and a Republican father. My mom was very liberal. My father was very conservative. They didn't ascribe motives to each other every time they disagreed. And on this issue, this is not simple stuff. It is it really is not simple. And the problem with some of the Medicaid funding is funds that were going to help the most needy, people struggling with addiction, for example. That's original Medicaid. That's the original purpose of Medicaid. But now states like New Jersey are getting enticed to by 90 cents on the dollar to cover a different group of people. And there's not an unlimited supply of money to address these things. And what you just described with your sister is exactly what I'm afraid of. That we're gonna send money in all kinds of different directions, and if there's not going to be enough to help people. One of the things that I proposed, I was able to add $15 billion to our health care bill specifically for mental illness and addiction recovery. It's not enough. It's not even close to enough. It's all I was able to get through our House. After the bill left the House, I went to the Senate. I spoke to a number of senators about trying to get a $50 billion fund and put it outside of Medicaid so that states would have a dedicated source of funding. The Senate bill included $45 billion. I was thrilled with that because I think that's more on the order of what we need. I don't know where it's going to go because there's so many different variations, so many different plans, and none of them have passed the Senate. I just would ask you to understand that I am fighting for the same thing you are on this issue. I want to make sure that people struggling with addiction have adequate funding to help them. I want that, and I'm fighting for that. And I would ask you to try to avoid ascribing a motive that's different from that because that's not what's motivating me at all.
All right, thank you for the call, Priscilla. And we're going to have time for a couple of other calls right after this. We'll be right back.
Call Congressman Tom MacArthur now, 732-505-1160. Ask the Congressman continues next. Beach Radio 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com.
Your mobile company said you were getting unlimited data, but what they really gave you was some limited data that slows down once you've hit, you guessed it, a limit. With Simple Mobile, you get truly unlimited high-speed data with nationwide coverage on a blazing fast 4G LTE network for just $50 a month with no contract. Mobile simple with Simple Mobile.
Available nationwide at Best Buy and authorized retailers. Video typically streams at DVD quality. A month equals 30 days. Always refer to the latest terms and conditions of service at simplemobile.com.
The Shore Sports Network is the radio home of your Lakewood Blue Claws with every game, home and away, heard on Beach Radio 1160 and 1310. Greg Giambarisi brings you all the excitement of minor league baseball as we follow the three-time South Atlantic League champions and the top prospects in the Phillies organization as they work their way from the shore to the show. Blue Claws Baseball on the Shore Sports Network is presented by Downs Ford in Toms River. There's a reason why they've been a dealer at the Jersey Shore for so long. It's their reputation and their people. Downs Ford wants to help you find the right vehicle at the right price. Stop by the Downs Ford showroom on Route 37 in Toms River or visit downsford.com. Proudly serving Ocean County best since 1930 and proud to bring you every Blue Claws game on Beach Radio 1160, 1310 and mybeachradio.com.
DeGraff Lakehurst Funeral Home has been family-owned and operated since 1979. They serve all faiths with personal care and reasonable pricing. DeGraff Lakehurst Funeral Home offers traditional funeral services, cremation, and pre-planning options. Providing excellence, honesty, and dedication to every family they serve is their primary goal. For more information, please call Sherry at DeGraff Lakehurst Funeral Home at 732-657-7868, located at 119 Union Avenue in downtown Lakehurst.
Congressman Tom MacArthur is here to talk to you. 732-505-1160 or tweet your question at WOBM. This is Ask the Congressman. Beach Radio 1160, 1310 and mybeachradio.com.
One more few minutes together, and thanks for everybody for the calls tonight. We're going to get a couple more, but before we do, I just wanted to ask you for a little update, please, on the National Flood Insurance Program.
Sure, yeah, and I know we have a few calls, so I'll be very brief on this. But the program expires on September 30th, so we've got to get it reauthorized. I think the good news is, from my perspective, I sit on the committee that's doing that. There were 5 or 6 problems with the original bill, which would have actually caused me to vote no on it. I have gotten all of those resolved, and I think we have a good reauthorization bill. We ran out of time before the August recess. I'm pretty optimistic, though, that when we go back in September, we'll get that vote done. My priorities have been getting more money for reconstruction in the policy, which we did. We doubled the coverage for that. I wanted to make sure premiums remained affordable for people. And I wanted to make sure new construction didn't get frozen out, which the original bill did freeze them out. And there were a few other areas. But we've gotten all of those things done, and I'm pretty happy that we've got a bill that, a long-term reauthorization that will help people along the coast here be able to get flood insurance.
Do you know when the vote's coming up?
I don't, but it's got to be in September. So I can tell you it'll be between
It'll be in
September 5th and September 31st.
Here we go. Okay, let's get one more call in, maybe 2 if we can squeeze it in, and we'll go right to it. You're on Ask the Congressman, and thank you for calling. What is your first name and where you're from?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Bruce, and I'm from Waretown, Bruce Todd. The Congressman knows me. I've spoken to him before. Good evening, Congressman.
Hi, Bruce.
Listen, I just want to start off from one of the previous callers. My background in the military, I was in surface-to-air missiles. I was actually stationed in South Korea. And I would just like people to not be so afraid of what's going on right now in with North Korea and get buffaloed into the kind of thing that happened before we went into Iraq. All right? I think a lot of overemphasis is being made on what's going on, and we should actually go for dialogue with North Korea with the help of China and Russia. But my question actually for the night is around a report which I gave to the Congressman's office last week regarding the Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity and the report they issued and a memorandum to the President on the so-called Russiagate situation. William Binney, who was the technical director for the NSA and who designed the metadata program of collection, and Ray McGovern, who was the Russia desk head for the CIA and used to do the daily briefing for presidents, have come out in this report saying that the so-called hacking by Russia of the DNC computers is a total fraud. And in fact, they point
Okay, excuse me, Bruce, we have about a minute, so can we get to the question, please?
Anyway, I would like the congressman to go to other congressmen because this report is being passed around Congress, and they are calling, many people are calling for William Binney and Ray McGovern to speak to the investigations going on now in the Congress to debunk this myth about Russia hacking the DNC computers.
Well, Bruce, let me respond to that. My view is today and has been all along that we need to get to the facts, and we need to follow those facts wherever they go. So we have 4 investigations now, one in the House, one in the Senate, one at the FBI, and then the special prosecutor, Mueller, is sort of the coordinating investigation. I believe they'll get to the facts. It seems to suggest that the hacking is real, in fact, and as it stands today, I accept what the intelligence community has said, and I believe these investigations will reveal who, if anyone, inside the U.S. has been involved, and I will follow those facts wherever they go. I swore an oath to the Constitution. I will follow them wherever they go, and if people got involved and did things that were wrong, they're going to have to answer for that. And but I think it's important not to rush to judgment. I know people do because I get asked this all the time. But I think it's important not to rush to judgment in either direction and let the investigations find what they will and then we'll respond to that evidence. And your first comment about North Korea, I hear you loud and clear. I want to be careful too, but it's unacceptable to me that North Korea would have a nuclear weapon that could reach the United States. That's a real problem to me. And so if we can fix it through negotiation, particularly through China, I'm all for that. But thus far, the Chinese have been unable to really move the North Koreans. The relation between those countries is not great at the moment, and China signed on to the UN sanctions. So we'll see where they go, and we'll have to act accordingly.
Thank you very much for your call, Bruce, and Congressman, thank you for spending the hour with us.
Tom, my pleasure. Always enjoy being here, and I to all the listeners, I do appreciate the questions, whether people agree with me or disagree with me. There's an old proverb, iron sharpens iron. I believe that's true. I listen to people, and I just ask in return that they listen to me and try to understand where I'm coming from.
Alrighty. Hope we can get you back before the end of the year, not to have to go back to Washington.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Ask the Congressman a presentation of Town Square Media, New Jersey Shore News Division. Our producer and phone screener tonight is Paul Soretti. Audio and video coordination by Bradley James and Tom Tremblay. And if you missed any part of the program or want to hear it again, visit our YouTube channel, WOBM.com or mybeachradio.com. I'm Tom Angeli. Thanks for listening, and have a good night.
You've been listening to Ask the Congressman with 3rd District Representative Tom MacArthur, a presentation of WOBM News on Beach Radio, 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com. Beach Radio is 1160 WOBM Lakewood Township, 1310 WADB Asbury Park, and mybeachradio.com, a Town Square media station. More of the Jersey Shore's best oldies next.
Hi, Marianne Levy for Beach Radio 1160 and 1310 and mybeachradio.com. We broadcast from the Preferred Home Healthcare Studio. From skilled pediatric services to adult care, Preferred does it all. Preferred Home Healthcare with feeling.
Live from the Preferred Home Healthcare Studio, this is Beach Radio 1160, 1310, and mybeachradio.com with another hour of beach music.
The Jersey Shore's best oldies, Beach Radio. The Jersey Shore. When I'm with you, it doesn't matter where we wish I could sing it to you. Oh, 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 mostly I'm silent, silent, la, 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 la. When I kiss you, I feel 1,000 different feelings, a color of chills all over my body. And while I feel them, I quickly try to decide which one I should try to put into words. Oh no, try to put into words. Oh, 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 just a start.